Hi everyone, it's Hermes here with your weekly hewing message. This week, I encourage you to open yourself up to the potter's heart. Have you ever seen a potter at work? Have you ever seen the way the potter gets down into the clay? Some time ago, I was mesmerized by the work of the potter. And so I took to watching numerous videos of potters at work. And as I viewed the videos, a number of things jumped out at me. One, the potter must begin with the end in mind. The potter at the beginning of the process must know what they're setting out to create, to accomplish. The second thing was that the potter must have an idea of the work involved. Because if the potter is beginning with the end in mind, the potter must have an idea, for example, of the material, the effort, and time required to create the piece. The third thing was how gifted the hands of the potter must be. Those gifted hands can be gentle or firm depending on the stage of the process and depending on the quality of the material at hand. Fourth is the patience of the potter. A potter must be patient with the material to mold it, to fashion it into the desired shape. The potter must also have the patience to begin again if the material isn't yielding as it ought to for the optimal finished piece. Fifth, the potter must be focused to shut out everything else and focus on this one piece for the duration of that creation process. And sixth, finally, there is a level of intimacy between what is being created and the potter. As the potter works on a piece, the piece becomes an extension of the potter, so much so that the potter and the piece become one. The potter becomes intimate with the piece, and the potter puts their heart into the piece. The last point is the one I want to emphasize. That is, the potter must get intimate with the work. In the intimacy is the potter's fingerprint. In the intimacy is the potter's heart. In the intimacy lie the character and nature of the potter, so much so that when the potter has completed the piece, those who are familiar with the potter's work will recognize it as a piece by that potter. Linking this to one of the readings for this Sunday, Jeremiah 18, 1-11, God calls Jeremiah to the potter's house where the potter was working at his wheel. As the vessel turned out badly, the potter reworked it into another vessel, as seemed good to him, as is stated in verse 4. At this point, now, verse 5, Jeremiah says, "Then the word of the Lord came to me. Can I not do with you just as this potter has done?" Friends, are you in a place where you feel like you are on the potter's wheel? Do you feel like your life is spinning out of control at work or at home, or both even? Do you sometimes feel like your life has been extracted from the most intense tragedy that you've ever seen played? Do you sometimes wonder where you got it so wrong that you could be passing through this torrent with little to hold on to? Have you felt ambushed by life with one thing after the next going wrong? Have you considered that you might be on the potter's wheel. Without condemnation, I suggest to you that you just might be on the potter's wheel. Remember, I shared at the beginning that there was a time when I was mesmerized by potters at work? I recognize now that that phase was the Lord's revelation to me, just as He asked Jeremiah, that He was shaping me into a vessel as seemed good to Him. It was God at work in me to amend my ways. As I submitted myself to the potter's hands, this was after much protest, for I protested for a number of years, I felt the potter's heart being poured into me. Initially, I felt the pain of the loss that I had suffered in my career, my finances, and my relationships. It stung. But then I felt the warmth of the potter's hands when I was comforted and reassured that the potter was with me. The divine potter reminded me of His promise. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. Isaiah 43, verse 2. Returning to my earlier question then, have you considered that you might be on the potter's wheel? Perhaps whatever you're enduring at this time during this season in your life is the potter at work on and in you. Perhaps it would be wise of you to submit to the grueling at the hands of the potter, as fearful a thought as that might be. As you submit, the natural sequence is that you open yourself to receive from the potter's heart. The natural consequence of this is an intimacy with the potter. In that intimacy, you receive all the good things that the potter has for you based on your individual needs in relation to the end that the potter has in mind for you. In that intimacy, you feel the warmth of the potter's heart. And as you feel that warmth, your heart is fashioned after the potter's heart. When your heart is fashioned after the potter's heart, your heart is filled so that you can then pour into others, just as the divine potter needs you to. Friends, as I wrap up, I urge you, don't resist the potter's hands, for those very hands lead to the potter's heart. And as you are exposed to the potter's heart, you understand what it means to be loved by the potter, to be loved by God. And in that understanding lie my closing wish for you. As always, love, peace, and joy.